Welcome back, folks, to World of Warships Legends. I'm Soopa-Dave, and in today's great battle, this is actually going to be kind of a HE versus AP guide, because obviously a lot of people ask about that when it's the right time to use each ammo type. And honestly, there's not a correct answer, and the reason that is because in each scenario, even the ones that I'm going to talk about, because we're in the Dallas in this match, uh, there's times where AP or HE is going to be the right answer, but in another ship of even the same cruiser class, you have to know what guns you have and what size they are and what type of penetration they have. But for the most part, this is going to be kind of a little bit of a starter guide for it. And the most important thing when knowing when to shoot AP or HE is knowing your ship armors. With that being said, when shooting AP, it is really important to know what armor you're shooting at. For example, this is a legendary battleship in the background. While the armor isn't always what you're going to see, I'm using this as an example because it's very pronounced on the colors. You can see generally where weak spots are on a battleship. If you have small caliber guns shooting AP, you're definitely probably not going to want to shoot at the belt of this thing. You're probably going to want to shoot at the superstructure or the bow and the stern, that yellow area where it's pretty weak. Um, with that being said, you also have to know angling. Obviously, if a ship is angled pretty far to you, it's gonna, that armor is gonna effectively become thicker and bounce your AP off. So, with what we just showed on a battleship, you can see there's weak points on a battleship. For example, we're going to take a Tier 4 Kamikaze, arguably some of the worst AP in the entire game, but there's going to be scenarios where it's effective and even useful. For example, shooting at even a legendary ship. Now, this isn't going to happen, but I'm using the extremes just to show that can be effective even at very extreme ends like this. A tier 4 with terrible AP on a small caliber gun, as you can see now in the background, can even do damage in a fair amount of damage to a legendary tier battleship, whether you're shooting the superstructure or the bow side plating. Now, as you see, this is a cruiser. It's going to have similar armor schemes to a battleship. They're just not going to be quite as strong. The armor isn't going to be quite as thick in most places, so you can get away with a little bit more on them. And here you see a destroyer, which even at legendary tier doesn't have much armor, meaning you want to be super careful if you're shooting AP because a lot of times it's going to go right through the entire ship. Like I said, a lot of times it's knowing what guns you're using against what armor types, and also angling. That's really the three most important things. For example, you're not going to want to shoot big battleship guns at this with AP and expect to do a lot of great work with it. Now, there are exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, you want to shoot HE at destroyers. There's not a lot of armor there for the armor or the AP to actually detonate without going completely through the ship. And let's be honest, everybody loves shooting at aircraft carriers. They don't have a lot of armor in general. With that being said, sorry aircraft carrier players, but you guys are a lot of fun to shoot at because you don't have a ton of armor. And HE is a little bit less picky in the fact of a lot of times when you're using HE, you're trying to start fires or do some damage. So if something is lightly armored, HE is going to be a good way to go. Or if you just want to start fires on a bigger ship, that's a one way to go. But with that out of the way, let's get to the match. I'm in the Dallas, and this match is actually what made me do this video because This is a light cruiser, and a lot of times you only see people use HE in light cruisers, and you're gonna see I use both, and I use both quite a bit. So at the beginning of this match, I don't want to rush in. I'm in a light cruiser. This thing can die pretty easy if I get caught up too far early. But what I am going to do is because I'm kind of protected somewhat, I go ahead and shoot one gun off, see if I'm spotted. Of course, then a Nuremberg shows himself, and other people will start to show themselves. Now, in the beginning of a match like this, I should have thrown my catapult fighter up so it would have helped me spot stuff. Um, some people will laugh at using a catapult fighter early in a match, but a lot of people are gonna, not right off the line, but 15, 30 seconds into a match, you'll notice a lot of people will start shooting their guns. Once one person does, pretty much everybody does. And if you have a catapult fighter in the air, that will spot them. As you can see, we started to shoot AP when he was broadside. We got a Citadel because that is a cruiser and he's close in. And distance does play a big factor on whether you're using AP or HE. If you're close in, a lot of times you're going to be able to penetrate armor you wouldn't be able to at distance. Also, at distance, you're going to get plunging fire. You can see my HE is coming straight down as we're going to start to work on the Brentang. I pronounce everything wrong, guys. So if you haven't realized it by this point, that's on you. But I always call it the Brentang. I know that's not right. But anyway, I could, you see me slow down here. I can see that he's kind of, in a second here, you can see he's turning his guns and he's not pointed at me. I have the thing on my, I have the perk. I always forget what perk it is, but it lets me know when people are shooting at me right below, or aiming at me. Right below the spotted area, you'll see a 1 or something, and that's how many people are targeting me. Well, nobody's targeting me right now, so I don't have to really worry. Now you can see it. I'm getting targeted by one person, so I am going to be a little on the careful side here. Now you see me shoot AP there, and that's because I already had the fire started on him. And then he put the double fire out, so we gave it a minute. We shot AP, and now we're going to go back to HE. And we're going to try to get more fires started on this guy. This match, I'm going to be super annoying. I love doing that in light cruisers because I'm not necessarily a light cruiser that stands behind an island either. Obviously, not a terrible idea sometimes to do that, and I respect it when it's the right scenario. But I also like having a lot of fun. As you can see, even with AP on a battleship shooting the top of the ship like we talked about earlier, I'm doing damage to that Brentag. And honestly, we have a fire on him, so we let that go. We're gonna go focus on this destroyer. He's at range and he can be hard to hit with these lofty shells, but I still give it a try because my favorite thing in this game is killing cruisers and taking caps. That's just something, it helps you a lot in the game. So also you can see he's now out, his fires are now out, are out, so we're gonna go ahead and try to put him back on fire. And he doesn't have a lot of help over here. Again, I know he's not shooting at me for a few reasons. His guns aren't pointed at me. I think not enough people in this game pay attention to your guns. But you're going to see we're going to get some full penetrations. That's 6 right there on the superstructure. And we have got him killed. So you can see the top of the ship is, of a battleship is pretty weak and you can get through it pretty easy. So how you guys looking at me? I'm going to make myself a little bit narrow and I'm going to start accelerating so that hopefully his shots go behind me. As you can see, he did take a shot there. And again, I'm just changing direction because them shells at 13 kilometers, they take a little bit to get here. And you can see he does knock out a gun, but he doesn't really actually do any damage to me. So we're going to go ahead. He's getting a little close for my liking, so I'm going to start to move away. and we are again going to try to start some fires on him. Battleships in particular, I like to start fires when I can. It's also fun to Citadel them in a cruiser if it's available. But at this distance, that is not going to happen. It's going to be a hard enough task as it is in a light cruiser to do that, but I am definitely too far away for that. As you can see, we are, starting and stopping quite a bit or turning a lot. And that's just to keep the Hyuga off balance his shots. I'm not going to take a ton of damage from this guy. You see, I'm aiming up into the superstructure again. Now, at these distances, sometimes they can get hard to hit. As you see, we're getting some shatters because I'm getting it on the side of his armor plating. But even when they shatter, as you can see there, they can still start fires. And that's why HE is always a safe bet if you're unsure, because HE always has a chance to do some sort of damage. Where a lot of times, if you shoot AP wrong, you can bounce, shatter. There's times where AP just isn't going to do any damage. Now, that can happen on HE, but it's a lot harder because HE can start fires. HE is a lot more of a fail-safe. So we don't chase kiters, and the Hyuga started to kite away. I'm not chasing them. That's not something I do. We're going to go ahead, especially when he's got a fair amount of health. We see the Nuremberg is closing in. As you can see, I switched to AP here, and it was a little too early. These shells are a little lofty, and you can get damage this way. I think a lot of times when I use AP, it's mostly on ships that are broadside, and I think AP or HE probably still would have been more effective here, but then he stops. And he quits moving, and you're going to see here in a second the AP starts working again because of that, because I'm able to accurately aim where I want to aim. I'm actually not aiming at his belt. I'm actually trying to get it slightly above, so it's plunging down on him. And now here in a second, you can see I was aiming just above the waterline, but now here in a second, I'm going to start to go lower as he's getting closer. Now he angles in. Because he's angling to me, I am going to, in fact, go to HE again. So, as you see, was not paying attention to Hyuga, and he did get a good shot at me. I deserved every little bit of that. I got a little hyper-focused. As you can see, he's turning broadside. We're going to go ahead and put AP back on again. And we are going to shoot him on the side. Now, he doesn't have much health left here, but we definitely would have wrecked him with that set of AP at 8 kilometers. Now, you can see I'm still spotted. I've had a decent game so far, 84,000 at Tier 4, particularly in a light cruiser, or at Tier 5 is a solid game. But I like to be aggressive. And there's ways to be aggressive, like you're going to see here, where I'm not putting myself at a ton of risk, right? So this Ioba's moving in. I'm going to try lobbing the island. It doesn't really work. I try to do this a lot. My accuracy stats take a big suffer from this because I am willing to try to lob everything. And also I try to shoot every destroyer I see, as you saw earlier. So I realized very quickly I'm not going to be able to lob that. But he is super entangled in fighting with our cruiser. So he's sidetracked. I'm not spotted. He saw me completely driving the other direction, so he thinks I'm running, right? And this Ioba is coming here close distance, and he's flat broadside to me. What do you think my ammo choice is going to be? As you can see, we come over here and just pummel him. We get our high caliber, and he doesn't even get his guns in time to turn at us. We weren't at risk there. When you're low health, it's very important that you a lot of times stay alive, but you're still helping your team. And like that moment right there, when I realized he was hyper focused on the cruiser, he thought I'm sure even if I was him, I would have thought he was losing, or I was leaving. I turned right back and decided to go ahead and do that, or and take him out in an effective way that doesn't put myself at much risk. With that being said, Hyuga, I want to go ahead and get my revenge on Hyuga for getting me back. So, I know what you're thinking. You're almost dead. Why are you shooting this guy? Well, he's at range. I'm going to be hard to hit. As you can see, he's going to miss a bunch of shells on me at distance. It's hard to hit a light cruiser that's shifty and moving around like I am. Also, we're going to go ahead and, you know, keep doing HE on him. As you can see, we have a fire started. I think he already did put that out, but we're going to shoot a couple more shells here. And you can see we are getting some shatters, but for the most part, we're getting full pens with the HE, and we get a fire to finish him off. So, a very good game, a high caliber and a light cruiser at tier 5, 100 and some thousand damage, and you know, I'm not a big damage guy, but that's a solid run in a light cruiser. Uh, Definitely 100% helped our team with that run as we are top of the leaderboard. And hopefully I helped you guys out with the HE AP thing. And honestly, I'm sure I missed some stuff that I should have remembered, so always check the pinned comment down below. One thing I want to note here, guys, is using different shell types. Most people in a light cruiser would only use HE, and you can see I got 7 citadels in a light cruiser. Also set 13 fires, so you can see I was using my ammo effectively. With that being said, you know, once you do that, you'll find out you get a lot of citadels even in destroyers. But anyway, hopefully this helps you guys out. We'll see you next time, folks. Have a great day.